And welcome to another episode of Building Brilliance Book Club. I'm your host, Brian Wilson.
Javada Hill.
And we bring to you today the next book in our series, Switch. How to change things when change is hard, by Chip Heath and Dan Heath. Okay, let's just go ahead and jump right in.
Yeah, where we were.
Okay, where we were with this conversation.
Yeah, we walked in and was like, oh, how'd you like the book? You know, basic startup questions. So then I was like, it just seemed like their daddy was from IBM, which is fine, and they just found like 25 notes and references and then said it was a book. I felt like I was in like a market research class a little bit. And then we went into that. The examples were great because sometimes like,
yeah,
I think of overthrow the horse and a rider. But then in this situation, the horse was an elephant.
Yes.
But you still have the rider who is directing.
Who's directing.
And then I'm like, so where in my life is my elephant, which is more like what the emotions of it. And then the rider is like the rational. The
rider's like the rational.
Pick the path.
Right.
Find the bright spots. What I got, you always get something, right?
Right.
Is do something differently. Like change follows patterns. I did like that concept. And exposure. Like sometimes in some rooms I don't go in.
Okay.
And then I was like, well, maybe I'll sit for a little bit. Maybe I'll like do something differently, tell a different story. So, switch.
So when I first started listening to this book, I kept hearing Atomic Habits over and over and over again.
Right.
And I had to stop myself from looking at the book from that perspective. So, like, I listened to the first couple of chapters, and then I went back and started again from the beginning and tried to listen unobstructed by any other book. And then I kind of started to hear them. This book made me wish I had read this book before I read Atomic Habits.
Mm-mm. I like it.
I don't know where I got it from, but I kept hearing something else the first time I listened, and I couldn't extrapolate it.
Okay.
So when I went back and read and listened again, then I started to find it because I started taking notes for myself. And I realized that they weren't telling me how to affect change within myself. They were telling me how to affect change in other people and create a tipping point for them that organically happened without my influence.
Like, right. So I went to the vault thing, the event, and I've been someone that hasn't been very social. So then I was like, all right, cool, I'm going to go. I had a good time. But then I was like, oh, go to the sales meeting maybe because exposure. Mm-hmm. And you got to change your environment. How am I interacting inside of this environment? Whatever. So yeah, Atomic Habit, like what can I do to switch? And sometimes you need to like, you got to keep showing up so people can see you and become comfortable with you. And we know this, knowing makes no difference. And you can choose to be Henry David Thoreau, and I just want to be in Walden's Pond. I just want to be in the forest for a little bit. But you learn all this stuff, and it's not just for you. It's like, how can I use this to impact the community? Like how you always say that we're the culture.
Yes.
We are the culture.
How do we affect change in that knowing?
Yeah, showing up and like so that was something that I definitely got from reading Switch.
I loved the story about the Vietnamese moms
with the food and the babies.
Yes. Mm-hmm. That really hit home for me. And I think I've shared this story with you before. My whole 9th grade year in high school, my first year in high school, I hookied the entire year. Mm-hmm. Like I was almost never there because sign-in wasn't until 12 o'clock. So my first couple of classes, I didn't go to. I would go and sign in at 12 o'clock. And if you signed in at 12 o'clock at your homeroom, you were present the rest of the day. They marked you as present. So by 10th grade, I don't know how I got to 10th grade, don't ask. But by 10th grade, they changed homeroom to be first thing in the morning. So now I had to come to homeroom and be there at 8 o'clock in order to be marked present for the rest of the day. For me, what they made me do was, since music was my love, they made music my homeroom. So I would now get up to go to school to be at homeroom. I mean, to be in the band, because then I was in the element of music and people. We didn't play any instruments. We were just there to be marked present. But for me, the mindset was, I get to be around friends and music and musicians, even though we weren't playing any music, we were just in the band room. I think about this book relative to my experience and how they affected change in me. Because I wouldn't go to school. I don't know, I couldn't motivate myself to go. I could find all these other things to do in advance before school. And I think about how they affected change in the mothers to be able to nourish their children and properly feed them, in getting them together as a collective group, and then collectively showing them how to prepare meals, how to plan time for the children to eat, and then how that change became a tipping point for the whole community. They didn't come in and say, all right, mothers, this is what you got to do to properly nourish your children. They said, let's bring all the mothers together, and then they can show each other how they're preparing the meals for the kids. And then they scheduled times for them to eat and made them eat even when they were sick. I think about how he spotlighted how to make massive change happen within a small community by doing little things, just like Atomic Habits does, makes you focus on the small things that you can change in order to affect large events.
I like that. One of my favorite examples was this teacher that told the kids, oh, y'all are third graders, when they was first graders and couldn't even read.
Yeah.
And she shifted their identity. And identity is an aspect that switch relates to, because who are you? Like, who are you? So she shifted the identity, and I think that relates to us being in real estate, because we create identity for our clients. If you're a first-time home buyer, if you're an investor, we support that. Like, if you're an investor, what do investors do? They buy multiple pieces of property. Okay, so I'm going to support that identity for you. And I guess in ourselves, like, empty and meaningless, but we support our clients.
We're always support.
We're here for bless you.
Excuse me.
You all right. And I like that how they the cross-generational not with the men that was dating the younger women.
Oh yeah.
They
in Tanzania.
Yeah, they shifted the conversation to humor. And sometimes you gotta laugh about things, right?
I love how they took the time to analyze the situation.
I didn't like how he said, oh, this might be far-fetched or something because it was in Tanzania. Like, we're thinking global versus local, power versus force. But
yeah.
Your audience is the only people that look at stuff in the U.S. I didn't think they needed to say that. And I guess I understood and liked that they were on boards and they were trustees of things. They were trustees
that gave them that power.
Yeah.
Right.
But looking at their life, I don't know,
you don't think they were doing much?
Right, in real life.
Real life.
That you could be a parrot trustee, that's why you over there, that you Tanzania, you that.
Yeah, let me go help these.
Yeah, these people, and then write a book, and then I just did all the research and added a couple words in it.
Yes. Yeah, and they kind of just like cashed out, monopolized on their situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that privilege which we yearn to have.
We
to
do
be able
have.
to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
So now, how do we have so think about now the book switch. Think about where we do actually have that power and influence.
Small, like we do, like even going to for I can only think about events right now.
I'm thinking about the fact that you went and cleaned your block. And you went and told us that you went to Cobbs Creek.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking about the effect that had on the community.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because I've seen other people out there doing it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that tipping point where it starts to become normal.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
and how it just by your small actions affected that change. You know.
I like that the woman and the school teacher and like coming from the inner city school and like the kids and they listen to the music in the morning and yada yada. She met them at the car before they even went into the school. And the continuality, continuality. Like I think that made a difference to help shelter the kids and like good morning, you know, like before they got out the car into the school, calm them down because maybe their home environment wasn't, you know, peaceful or whatever, but she created that peace, she created that transition, she created that environment when I opened up their car door, it shifted when she did that compared to just letting them run into the school. I mean, calm your ass down real quick, you know, pump your brakes, you know, settle your heart a little bit, and then walk into this
come on into this environment.
Yes. I like that example.
I like how so the book opened up some things for me. It opened up like nasal passages, some things for me. Because now I stopped looking at how to affect change within and how to affect change without. Like, how do I look at, we're just coming out of the power broker, right? And how the mass effects of Robert Moses' mind. So now, reading Switch, I'm analyzing a mass group of people. Like, I'm analyzing buyers and I'm analyzing sellers and how to affect change within those two groups. We had some powerful events take place for us in real estate over the last couple of months. The NAR settlement, the decrease in interest rates, the softening of pricing. So we've got a lot of conversation now that we can share, creating new conversation to share with this audience now. So now I'm thinking about what small things can I say to influence the elephant to create transaction.
I'm in this space of like what has worked in the past and what has not worked. Like, how can I generate income? So, like going to like different networking events. I think that's something different. And I'm also like thinking of like doing TikTok lives.
Okay.
And that's would be something
to
new.
Affect large groups.
Yeah, to affect large groups, to speak to the people, to have conversations with the people. And I've been in that space for like 2-3 weeks.
Okay.
Like,
I even with our book club.
Yeah.
I love what you do with the videos. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the shorts.
Yeah.
Because in those shorts now we can create quick, short conversations.
Yeah.
To speak to our audience.
And you show up differently in the world for who you are being. Like, it takes something to talk to the camera and to show your face and to speak to the people. It takes something.
Takes a little bit to talk to you people. Just want you to know. And
you got to become a different person. You got to become like, you know, shift the conversation of who you are for yourself.
Yeah.
So I like that you have that. You have it. You have the content distribute through the network, because you have to settle yourself. It's not about you, it's about the community that you impact. So if you can come out of your identity and your individuality and then say that I'm operating on the community when we're cleaning up Cobb's Creek or when we're donating blood, you're operating on a level of community. There's no difference. There's no difference. Separation unless you feel like, oh, I'm separate.
No. What I do feel like is I analyze the community now from a different perspective. Like I'm now looking at them from what do they need? What do they think about? What is their focus? What is their concern? What challenges are they facing? And how can I guide them through that process? I'm looking at their problems as a whole and then analyzing them to help them emotionally figure out how to get through them. We have low inventory right now, right? Mm-hmm. We have low inventory because sellers don't know where to go next. They don't know what to do next, because before the mantra was buy a house with the white picket fence and live in it for 30 years. All right, so now here we are at year 31. What do you do? So now this is a whole different conversation because sellers never thought about that. They never thought about what happens at the end of 30 years after I've lived in the house, I've raised my children, I've paid off the mortgage, my kids are gone, I'm an empty nester, and now I'm taking care of an elderly parent who's still around, who lives in a different house. So now, do I move them into my house? Do I help them sell their house? Do we sell both houses and buy a bigger house? How do we manage what the next phase looks like? So this book really helped me to focus on those really small, minute challenges that many of my clients are going through. I'm meeting clients now, potential sellers now, and I'm walking through their home and I'm looking at the years of stuff that they've amassed and accumulated, and that's weighing them down. You know, I planned on doing this to the house, but I didn't get around to it. All this stuff, some of the stuff in this house is not mine. It's my daughter's. She went through a divorce and she moved back home and brought her stuff and her kids. So now we got all this stuff in the house. Most of it isn't ours. Or some of this stuff is my mother. She passed away and I'm still holding on to her stuff. So now they're sitting in a house paying utilities to heat and cool and pay for shelter for stuff. How do we get them out of that mindset? How do we motivate the elephant and the rider based off of their current situation? This is where I feel as though we as agents are needed, because we come with that insight, that creativity, that mindset, that direction, and a real game plan that homeowners are challenged with.
I'm going back to identity. To answer the question, how do you move people? How do you motivate the elephant and the rider? I think it's who do you see yourself to be in this situation?
Paul Revere.
Yeah. Yeah, but like if you had a client, like, you know, you're an overcomer or you're not a hoarder, or you're free. What does freedom look like? Freedom looks like not having all this stuff and storage, and why you holding on to that stuff? Yes. You think it's going to, like, how can I get you to let go in a powerful way? I think it's shifting your identity to who you know yourself to be. You're not someone that has storage. You're not someone that's taking that stuff from this house to the next house. You don't need to. How about recreate yourself anew?
Recreate yourself anew. And there is when he said, imagine. That's a powerful word.
I know. Demetrius, he has some great clips. Like, imagine that everything worked out but as you went to sleep and all your problems were fixed. And when you woke up, how would you know that it happened?
What does it look like? What does it feel like? When he asked the parents with the bad kid that were abusing the kids, what would a good kid look like? Or when he asked the alcoholic, what would your day look like if you weren't drinking? And they were forced to go into their mind to imagine what it would actually look like. And in doing that, they created that connection.
And they changed the environment, especially for the Vietnam warriors that got on opium, and then they came back and like the wife was getting on them. There wasn't really opium in the United States. Like, we're not doing this. You was doing that
over there
in Nam,
right?
But we here in America, Minnesota, we're not doing that. So it shifted the environment. So in our state situation too, as realtors, we shift people's environment. I think something like, how do you motivate people? 35% people be moving to Texas, because I want a brand new life.
Yes.
And we do that not just on a small scale. You ain't got to move across the country, but you can move in different neighborhoods to jumpstart
and
yourself.
Recreate yourself.
I'm going back to school. I'm getting my master's degree.
Yes.
That's another like technology that you're trying to do something.
I talked to a home seller yesterday, and he said to me, I want to sell my house and move to Panama. And I was like, wow, that's a great idea. So I listened to him. He had the whole thing sketched out. He already saw it in his mind of where he wanted to be. He said, I'm going to sell my house and I'm moving to Panama City. He said, I'm doing some things now to the house to prepare it for sale. I'm like, great, I'm on the same page with you. I understand your goals and motivation. Let's work together so we can get you to where you want to be. Like, I think as realtors, we create dreams. We create them and we help people accomplish them.
And facilitate them and guide them to the next situation.
My daughter calls me up now to what I help buy the house.
Mm-hmm.
She calls me up now and she goes, hi, it's the new homeowners here. This is how she introduces herself now.
Because she shifted her identity.
Yes. And I'm like, I feel so happy that I was a part of it, that I helped ignite it. I've been telling her for years to buy a house. And like she said, she called me up and she said, I finally heard you. It's time to buy a house. I was like, bet. I got it. That meant the small hints that I had been dropping to her.
And something else had to happen.
The house was falling apart.
Yeah.
The house was falling apart. There was water. The basement was flooding. There was a roof leak. What I mean?
Why does it sometimes you need those dire things to happen to be like, now I'm going to live? Why does it have to?
Why does something have to happen?
Yeah. Why does it gotta be so bad sometimes that's what makes me get into action? And then some other books.
Complacency.
I don't know.
I think
because everybody people wouldn't want to agree to be like, oh yeah, I'm complacent. I don't think they would just automatically.
I don't think they automatically say they're complacent, but I think complacency, it gets comfortable. I look at myself. I worked at a company for 7 years that I hated, with a capital H, hated. But I stayed there because I liked the people. I hated the job. It wasn't what I wanted to do. It wasn't what I went to school for. But the people made it so comfortable to come to work. I'd hang out with them for lunch. We talk about television shows that we all watched. It got to the point where we were dressing the same. Because I had to step back and look at myself and be like, I'm becoming them versus becoming myself. So the first thing I did when I realized that, I started to grow locks. I said, I need to separate myself and come back to who I am. You know what I mean? To realize who I am or who I was working to be before I got with this company. Because I was really becoming a clone. I felt like I was being indoctrinated into them,
You had a sense of belonging and inclusion, the Perrys, the Polos. I do like that story. And I like how you like zoomed out on yourself, like you were a witness to who you were, and it's like, wow, like I'm talking like them, I eat like them, we talk about the same thing, but you had a sense of belonging inside of that community. And then you were like, oh, I'm different.
Yes, I had to. That was the radicalness that came out of me, and it had to spark that change. The next thing that happened that sparked change for me was they were moving me from 15th and Market, where I worked, and I could get on the L, to New Jersey. And I'm like, oh, this can't happen. And it ignited this rage in me because they were getting ready to change my whole lifestyle without really even consulting me. And I was like, this is too much control. It's time for a change. That's how I got my real estate license. That was the fire that I needed to get my real estate license. I think about the fire that ignited in me when I went to buy my house because my daughter was on her way and she didn't have a room. And I just kept thinking to myself, I thought about my beginnings. I told you, we moved a lot. We moved every 5 years. I had a new address. And it wasn't until probably like the third house or the fourth house that I actually got my first room. You know, other than that, my brother and I were sleeping in the living room on pull-out sofa beds. So I think about the fire that gets ignited within people to motivate them to do something. Otherwise, they're just stagnant and they continue to fall into a rut and a routine to do the same thing day after day, day after day. That's what kept me stuck at the job for 7 years. So now Switch talked about igniting that it defined the elephant in the rider. It helped me to identify both because they are two separate, and then how to actually speak to whether I'm speaking to the elephant or whether I'm speaking to the rider within a mass group of people. I'm fortunate enough within my organization that I get to speak in front of large groups of people, of men. And being able to identify them individually, but then being able to speak to them as a collective and understanding how to guide my conversation with them in order to motivate them to move was a very real challenge. I wish I had read this book before they put me in charge, because then I probably would have looked at my tasks a little differently. But now understanding how to shape the path, how to focus an audience, even now in my business, when we start talking about consumers, how to ignite them to move. Like buyers are easy. Buyers are easy. Something happened and the buyer said, I gotta buy a house right now. The rent's going up, they're getting married, they're getting divorced, they moved to a new city, something happened to ignite the buyer. The seller is something a little different because for all of them, there's something that ignited them differently. This is my mother's house and she passed away and I don't want the house. Or I'm downsizing because I'm living in a 3-story house and we're only living on the first floor and we're heating rooms upstairs. It doesn't make any sense. Or I'm an empty nester and my wife and I are getting a divorce and we're going our separate ways. I want to change my lifestyle. You know, there's some other cell motivation behind that.
Can we manipulate the elephant?
Yes. And that's a bad word to me, manipulation.
Yeah, we went over this the other day.
Right.
Like,
we said
persuade and educate, like how to not have such a detrimental thing happen. I like the word stagnation. I saw something today on the church sign that says saved from stagnation. So that might be the word of the day.
Stagnation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like not moving.
Not moving.
Something that's just not.
Yeah, it's like a
low
water that just sits around. Yeah. Right.
How do you remove the dam?
The dam. Right. So now rethinking the entire conversation with sellers, because that's what we've been doing for the last couple of weeks, last couple of months, is rethinking conversations with sellers about commissions and how commissions work. Now, what does your conversation look like? Now, how are you in charging the sellers now? Here's an opportunity for you to make more money. The interest rates are down, the market has changed, more buyers are out, there's inventory that is low. This is the opportunity for you to capitalize now on the sale of your home. This is the thing that you've been talking about, that you've been waiting for. When they say, I'm waiting for the market to get better, they don't know what better looks like. Not from their world. Do you know what I mean? We do. So now we come with a whole different conversation, a whole different presentation, the ability to identify the rider and the elephant, and how to clearly define the process and the steps in a realistic time frame for them. Like the guy that said, I want to save 100,000 lives by June 15th, whatever.
He had to motivate the herd.
Right. And now everybody said, okay, let's go back and look at our atomic habits. Let's look at the steps that we do. Let's perfect the steps that we do. Eliminate some of the things that we don't do. Revitalize our checklist.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And then look at and analyze the results.
Hi.
Now the whole conversation has changed now. And you have ignited people now, because now they feel empowered.
Right.
They feel a part of something. They feel like this is a collective group effort to save lives. That's noble. That's not manipulation. That's igniting. You know?
Yeah.
So it's not a bad thing now.
Yeah. I would like to, it's like a mental barrier that you can ignite the elephant consistently.
Yes.
Like every day ignite the elephant. Because then you take away the element of time, like it takes away the element of time. Better comes from a place of the past. Better compared to what?
To what?
1986. Like what are you comparing it to?
I think by creating that comparison, though, you help them to reimagine an opportunity missed, a time missed.
Remember now.
Yeah, and
Recall.
now in that they can now reimagine what a future would look like
and stay there.
Yeah, I mean, just imagine if you could go back in your time capsule when Google first came out. Would you have invested in it then, know what you know now?
Yes.
Right. So now, when the next Google comes, now you're more aware now. Now you're like, okay, wait a minute. I missed the last Google, but I think this is going to be the next Google. You created excitement, anticipation, an opportunity to catch the train, to jump on the wave, and to realize what you felt as though you missed from the last time.
I like the excitement and the anticipation. There's a book that's, we're in anticipation business. You're supposed to expect joy, expect abundance, expect like your new clients and stuff, and live in that expectancy. So if you're doing that, what do I see you doing? If you're expecting the clients to come, I'm prepping, I know the contract, you know, I'm excited. And I think that is something to motivate the elephant even before the rational mind, the rider starts to come in. But you still got to chart the path. I thought a critical path.
Yes.
Manifesto.
Yes.
Manifest in this room. Like, you still got to like direct the rider to go
you
somewhere.
Still have to.
And whether that somewhere is just like, oh, the award ceremony. Like, be excited to be that and anticipate being there and hearing your name. Like, that's a path that you can chart. That's just one of many.
That's just one of many. Yeah, exactly. So it took some work to appreciate this book.
And
like,
I think
to read it.
I got appreciation from this book. You know, it took us some time to get here because I was like, basic.
Yeah. I heard it in your text. I heard it in your text. You were like, next.
Yeah. Ready for war. So now I am definitely in a space of like an appreciation for me, appreciation for you, appreciation for the writers, the artists, the creators, the people that are making an impact in Tanzania, and everybody that's sheltering the girls, you know, because we're all here doing an effort, no matter whether I see it, what you're doing here in Philadelphia.
Right.
I know that somebody's out there is making an impact.
Making some change somewhere, no matter how great or how small, known or unknown, there's different impactful challenges being made, influence being made, and how we're able to actually use our influence and exert our influence to create change.
Well, humbly, I like that some guy on Instagram, I posted something that I found on Pinterest, and it was like these like sharp black men within these suits and everything, and he screenshotted it. This was then like a couple weeks ago, I posted this a couple months ago, but he sent me a text saying a couple weeks ago that he created it and he made these suits, and I was like, that's so super cool, and then you send me the photo of you wearing it, so I was like, damn, shorty, like that's cool to extend creativity and then to inspire people, and then to come back and tell me, oh, you inspired me when you posted this.
Right.
That was cool, because you don't never know who you impacting.
You never know who you're impacting.
Who's watching you. I
got a call from a past client yesterday who said exactly the same thing. He said, he called me up and he was like, "B, I've been watching your videos." I said, "What you mean?" He said, "I've been watching your book club videos, the shorts." And because you sent it to me. And he was like, "You guys are really sharing some impactful information." I was like, "Bruh, I didn't even know you were paying attention." He was like, "Yeah, I've been paying attention and watching." And he called me to send a client to me based off of one of the videos that we've been sharing.
Right.
You never know who you're affecting change to. And when I asked you in the text earlier this week about should we not videotape certain episodes of book club, and you said no, we should videotape all of it.
Right.
I was just like, okay, let's put it all out there, because you're right. You never know in our conversations who we are reaching, who we're touching, how we're affecting them, and what kind of influence we're having on them as a result of these book club meetings.
How did you get to the question, should we record it?
I got to the question of should we record it because I felt like, for me, we were going to be broaching on some very sensitive conversation.
Okay.
And I didn't know if everybody felt as comfortable about sharing. And then I went back to Dare to Lead, Brene, and I kept hearing her in the back of my head, what are you afraid of? What are your concerns? So that's why I asked the question, to make sure it wasn't like, just me. No.
Shut it down.
Yes. And yes, as soon as you said no, I was like, all right, back. We on it. Let's just keep it pushing.
Cut it. Okay,
so it's 8:40. So this is the time in book club where we compare and contrast the current book that we're reading with the other books that we've read in the past. So Javada, I'll start with you.
Critical Path Manifesto.
Critical Path?
Yeah.
Oh no!
Yeah, of
okay.
course.
Okay, go.
You gotta really chart the course. You gotta know that there's obstacles are going to be on the way. Something that just came to me. You gotta expect failure. And that was something that I don't be trying to expect at all, but they said you gotta expect stuff to go wrong. You gotta expect a breakdown and failure. That comes, that word carries meaning, but it doesn't have to be meaningful. It's just a word that carries a connotation behind it and a tone, but expected. So on a critical path, you know there's going to be things that's going to come up against you, and you got to switch, like continuously, like flick this light, turn this light on, like let there be light in this atmosphere, because I don't know what's going on. Somebody need to help the title people, the clients, something got to be done, a home inspection, let there be light on whatever is happening. I'm just turning the switch, like that's all I'm doing. And then each step, you are somebody, like you're somebody, a basketball championship, you're a coach, like you're a realtor, you're a homeowner, you're an investor. Each step that you take, you're shifting your identity
to something else.
It's something else, and that's the continuation of not just the evolution of who you know yourself to be.
I didn't think about that, but that was a very good point. I saw again Atomic Habits, but the book made me rethink Atomic Habits, and I thought Atomic Habits and Tipping Point. It made me rethink Atomic Habits, not from my perspective, but from the perspective of my audience, and how to infect change, small incremental changes within them to create a large effect in my audience. So I started thinking of analyzing them, just like in the book that they analyzed the Vietnamese with mothers.
Mm-hmm.
They really sat down, talked to them, and then actually listened to what it is they actually do. And then they turned around and mirrored what they do already to help them create their own tipping point. So it made me really think about my audience, who I'm talking to, the message that I'm analyzing what their situation is, their situations, because everybody's in something different. And then how to speak to that situation in order to effect the change within them. How to inspire a change within them. So now it's helped me to really refocus my conversations, sharpen my questioning, and analyze the answers. Like really pay attention to the answers in order to be able to affect change. One of my clients said to me, the lender wants her to create a real estate holding company, and she didn't know what that meant or how that worked. So now I got the opportunity to help her to reimagine what a real estate holding company is, what it looks like, how it works, how to set it up, in order to affect change for her. I'm like, this is so cool. I get to do all these cool things at my job just using my mind. This isn't a sit down, do my 7.5 hours and then go home type of job. We really get a chance to use our minds to work through situations. I had a settlement yesterday that I didn't even know I was going to have. Like Sunday, you couldn't have told me I was going to have a settlement on Monday, because I really didn't think it was going to happen. And then I got a call Monday morning. I calmed myself, and I came to the resolve that I wasn't having a settlement on Monday and got comfortable with it. Then I got a call. I got phone calls, text messages, emails, all early Monday morning. And one of them was the title clerk. And she said, I'll see you at 4 o'clock. And I was like, huh? She said, I'll see you at 4 o'clock. I was like, I can do 4 o'clock. She was like, okay. The settlement took 2.5 hours, which is not the norm for me. But it took 2.5 hours, and we closed, and I got a check at the end of the deal. And I was like, thank you. Thank you. Because I was not expecting this. So the conversations.
I like how you buckets got down and like you accepted it. There's like a training by like Neville Garter. It's like you go to sleep seeing like, oh, I'm going to have a settlement, and you feel what it feels like to have a settlement, and then you wake up and be like, oh, I don't care that I have a settlement. And the point of it is to release the tension, is to release the resistance, and you release the resistance, and it was like, I don't care if it happens or not.
Right. That's exactly where I was by Sunday.
Yeah, and I think that's what matters, because you could be so like, I gotta do
Yes.
I gotta do. And then you'd be like, just be like,
me so tired.
yeah, because you're exerting so much energy to like fight and just
Yes.
like, you know what, I don't care anymore. Like,
I used to go home after some settlements, and I would sleep for 2 days.
yeah,
Like I couldn't function afterwards because I had exerted so much of myself into the process to make it work, you know?
mm-hmm.
And I was fighting battles that some of them self-created. Some of them were self-created battles
Most of them.
because I was seeing problems before they became problems, and I started fighting a problem that wasn't even really a problem in anybody else's mind but my own. It was exhausting. It was really exhausting. I'm loving book club.
The one who controls the mind wins.
Oh my God. I have this new level of calm that has just washed over me. You know, to bring me this established peace that I was fighting to get to in the first place. You know, if this happens, then I can have peace, or if that happens, then I can.
You'll always be chasing the stick. You'll always be like, it'll always be out there compared to it. I can have peace right now,
Right.
no matter what is going on.
Oh man, cybernetics. I just referred that to my son.
Thank you.
But the book, Switch. I'm glad we read this. We're finished with this book.
Yeah.
We're gonna move to the next book. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Very ready.
So, the next book for next week is Machiavelli's Prince.
Yes.
You ready for it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And a combo pack.
A combo pack?
The Art of War.
You want to do them together?
Yeah.
Oh, no!
The Machiavelli's like 3 hours. The Art of War is like 4, and I think like we're gonna
You
know.
think we can do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
all right.
the Art
I'm
of War is
I'm
like,
down with it.
It's like 1 hour. The
Yeah.
Art of War is not long, and Machiavelli is not long. It's shorter than this book.
Yes.
7 hours.
Okay.
And I think they just the war from Machiavelli and being in that time frame, and then to combine it with like the other culture,
Oh no!
East and West.
Look at Robert Moses over here, Roberta Moses. Roberta Moses is over here, y'all. Just letting you know it's getting ready to happen.
No, that's gonna be fun. So I'm excited. I'll create on what I need to create and.
Okay. All right,
really
beautiful.
present.
Okay, this is going to be great.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this
Thank
now.
you.
This is exciting. We thank you for joining us for this episode of Building Brilliance Book Club. I'm your host, Brian
I'm
Wilson.
Javada Hill.
And you can find us on Facebook under Building Brilliance Book Club. You can also find past episodes on our YouTube page, Building Brilliance Book Club. And you can also find the previous books that we've read on the book club app under Building Brilliance Book Club. Please join us for the discussion. These are great ways to motivate, inspire, and enlighten those people who have a leadership mindset, a leadership drive, a leadership goal. We join you to participate and be a part of this growth building process that we've been going through for the last, this is 3 years. We're going on 3 years now. This is 3 years. Thank you. Have a great day.